Miles on, at Bridge of Garry, the ancient road to the Isles crosses the River Garry, a tributary of the Tummel which branches west to Loch Tummel. After a few miles of breathtaking scenery, you reach the spectacular Queen's View, immortalised by Queen Victoria when she took tea here in 1866. However, the viewpoint actually commemorates Queen Isabella, wife of Robert the Bruce of Bannockburn fame, who ruled Scotland between 1306 and 1329. The view across Loch Tummel to Schiehallion, a pointed pyramid-shaped Munro at a little over 3,500 feet, is possibly the most photographed and famous in Scotland. It was on Schiehallion, the fairy hill of the Caledonians, in 1774 that Neville Maskelyne, Britain's Astronomer Royal, set up scientific instruments to calculate the density of the Earth. Schiehallion is so prominent from the lowlands that Ptoemy, founder of the science of cartography, mentions it in his Guide to the Geography of the World, which he wrote in the 2nd century. Also situated here is the Queen's View Centre in the heart of the Tay Forest Park, with an audio-visual display of the forests of Highland Perthshire. Here you'll find an excellent shop with a wide range of guides and maps of the many attractions of Tay Forest Park, where you can relax and enjoy a leisurely pot of tea with home baking in the tea room or picnic in the grounds. The walks at Allen Forest, just west of the Queen's View Centre, combine varied terrain and tree species, with Douglas fir in the dry areas, pine amongst the heather, spruces on the grassy areas, and larch in the bracken. The larch and pine on the lower slopes support a variety of seed-eating birds such as goldcrest, siskin and crossbill. There's also an interesting archaeological site, an 8th century ring fort in a commanding position overlooking Loch Tummel. Travelling through some spectacular Highland scenery on the high road to Kinloch Rannoch, you arrive at the estate of Dunalister, whose ornamental plantings date back to the poet and Jacobite chief of Clondonaghy, Alexander Robertson. After spending years in exile and taking part in the risings of 1689, 1715 and the 45, Alexander travelled to Edinburgh in his late 70s to meet the prince, saying that he had devoted his youth to the service of the prince's grandfather and his manhood to that of his father, and would devote his old age to the prince. He returned in General Cope's carriage, which remained at Rannoch for many years, only to be broken up for firewood by local estate workers less than 50 years ago. A few short miles on, James Small, a government soldier appointed as a factor in 1754 by the commissioners of the Forfeited Estates, named the village of Kinloch Rannoch at the foot of the loch. Small spent his life improving the lot of the local clanfolk. He laid out the new village and brought in tradespeople to pass on their crafts, such as joiners, wheelwrights, spinners and weavers. A fine bridge is situated between the shop and the hotel, whose inscription reads, "Built in 1764 at the sole expense of His Majesty out of the annexed estates," demonstrating the improved stewardship of this forfeited estate. An early piece of spin or propaganda. Two minor roads encircle Loch Rannoch's 10-mile stretch. The north side of the loch is known in Gaelic as the smooth slope and the south side as the rough slope. You'll see a small island with a tower called Ellen Namfiolach. This is in fact a crannoch with a secret causeway zigzagging underwater. It was often used by the Clan MacGregor as a base for raiding the area, and at one time served as a prison for anyone who offended the chief of the Clan Robertson. Travel along the north side, and at the end of the loch is Rannoch Lodge, the first of the early gentry mansions built in the aftermath of the 45 for Sir Robert Mingus, whose family had held the land since 1500. In 1985, a tragic fatal fire left the house badly damaged, and the current owners are restoring it. A number of years earlier, it was the one-time Scottish hideaway for guests like Elizabeth Taylor. Along the road to Rannoch Moor, and you'll find yourself in the last remaining wilderness in Europe. This wild and desolate area is rimmed to the northwest by the mountains of Mamore Forest and Ben Nevis, to the west by Buchel Etive Moor and the high peaks of Glen Coe, To the southwest by the summits of Glen Etive, and to the south rise the mountains of Glen Lyon. The single-track, well-surfaced road passes through this amphitheatre to the station and the Moor of Rannoch Hotel, where the road ends. Interestingly, the overnight sleeper from London Euston stops here, so it's never deserted. The first passenger train to cross Rannoch Moor en route to Fort William was in 1894. It took a labour force of 5,000, nearly 5 years, to complete the line. A group of surveyors even got lost for 2 days in this vast wilderness. Much of the line floats on the moor, as the deep peat had to be overlaid with brushwood, tree roots and so on, then covered with tons of ashes. Where this was not viable, viaducts were built, with the largest having 9 clear spans running nearly 700 feet. Indeed, the name Rannoch is derived from Gaelic for watery, with the moor covering an area of more than 50 square miles and overlapping into 2 counties, Perthshire and Argyll. Return by the same route, as there is no other. At Bridge of Gower, fork right and travel along the south shore of the loch. Avoid the fork leading off into the village, and leaving the few houses of Kinloch Rannoch behind, head up to the narrow road leading to Schiehallion.